everyone, and welcome to part 2 of this watercolor beginner course. In this lesson we're going to paint this brightly colored macaw. All of the supplies that I'm using in this lesson are discussed in detail in the introduction video for this series, so if you haven't watched that yet, have a look at it first. I'm going to start with my sketch already sketched out and outlined using the Pigma Micron liner pen. I will spray my paints with a spray bottle to activate them. I will use my Winsor Newton Cotman round size 8 brush to paint the bigger areas of this painting, but then I will use the medium-sized round 4 brush to paint the smaller areas. I am going to start with yellow first, and I've still got the yellow mixed up on my palette from the balloon tutorial that we did. So I'm going to just wet that up, maybe add a little bit more, and put the yellow down for the yellow section of the macaw. When I've got yellow in close proximity to colors like red and blue on a painting, I like to put the yellow down first, because if I had, say, put blue down first in the adjacent section and come along with yellow, there's a very strong chance that my brush could just tip into the blue area, and as soon as it does that, the yellow just mixes with anything, and the yellow would mix with the blue and turn my yellow section slightly green. And likewise, if it had to just touch any red parts, it would then mix and become orange. So I'm going to get the yellow out of the way first and paint that first. I could do the large red area next, but I'm going to wait a bit and work with the blue first. I've got 2 different kinds of blue on this painting, a lighter and a darker. I'm going to start with the lighter first. On my palette from the balloon tutorial, I've still got left on it a mix of the white and the cerulean blue. That's going to make a nice light blue color, so I'm just going to work with that and put that down for the lighter blue areas. I've chosen this subject for the second lesson now because it's a painting in which our colors are still kept separate on the painting. So we don't need to worry about colors mixing, and provided we give areas long enough to dry in between working with them, and that we don't work with one color immediately adjacent to another so that there is a risk of blending, we will be able to work quite confidently section by section throughout this painting. That's another reason why I didn't do the red next, because the red would have been alongside the yellow, and the yellow isn't completely dry yet. We are using the same technique that we did in the previous lesson, and that is wet on dry. The paper is still dry when I put the wet paint down, and therefore the paint doesn't move about when I put it on the paper. It goes down and stays down exactly where I put it. We're also doing a flat wash, where the color that we're putting down, we are attempting to keep it in the most even way possible and not trying to get any shading as we put the color down. Any color that I put down next is going to be adjacent to a color that I've already put down, so I'm going to allow this plenty of time to dry now before I work with my next color. I want to mix up a color for the beak now, and I'm wanting to mix up a sort of creamish gray. So I'm going to start by mixing white and black, and then I'm going to add some Naples yellow. I am still using my size 4 brush here, and I will put this color down on the top beak only. I will add a bit of water to the color if I feel that it's a little bit sticky and I want to get it smoother on the page. Now I want to mix a different color for the claws. I want the claws to be a darker brown color than the beak, so I'm going to start by mixing some yellow ochre with some Van Dyke brown. As I mix it up, I can see that the brown is a little bit too dark for my liking, so I will add some more yellow ochre until I'm happy with the color. When I am, I will put that color down on the claws. This single feather is going to be red, so I'm going to skip that, but I'm able to work on the feathers that are going to be darker blue now without touching anything that I've just worked on. On my palette here, I've still got some leftover Prussian blue from the previous tutorial, so I'm going to put that down now onto the areas with the darker blue feathers. At the moment, I don't think that there is enough contrast between the light blue and the dark blue feathers, so I'm going to mix up that Prussian blue in a thicker consistency and just go over the darker blue feathers again. I think that increasing that contrast has made a huge difference, and then I will just add this Prussian blue to the two little feathers at the top here as well. This blue color is so intense that I'm going to keep rinsing my brush off until the water that I tap off my brush is clear. And then I'm going to let this all dry before I carry on. I'm going to work on this little bottom beak now, and that is completely black. So I'm just going to mix up a little amount of plain black on my palette and drop that in for the bottom beak. I want to work on the tree branch now, and I've still got left on my palette that initial mix of the Naples yellow and the Van Dyke brown that was a little bit too dark for the claws, but I think that's going to be suitable for the branch, so I'll use that. Once that's down now, I can see it's a little bit too similar in color to the claws, so I'm going to pick up some more Van Dyke brown and darken up the branch. I'm just going to leave that very left-hand edge of the branch lighter color where it's cut off. And then I'm going to let that all dry. Now that's completely dry, I'm going to turn to my larger size 8 round brush to put down the red color. I'm going to mix up permanent red on my palette, and then I'm going to put it all over the areas of red on the bird that need it, starting up at the head and working down. When I get to the areas that are the edges or areas that require a bit more accuracy, I will turn back to my size 4 brush for the places that need it. Working in a bigger area like this means I need to keep an eye on all of the edges of the color that I've laid down. If I don't keep spreading the paint around, then I'm going to get what is called a hard edge, which is a line along the edge of where the paint is, where it will start drying if I don't keep it moving. So whilst I might turn my attention to the edges a bit where I'm trying to be more accurate, I've also got an eye on the larger area where the edge of the red might start drying, and whenever I get a chance, I'm going to keep spreading that color into the feathers as well. So you can see that I'm working between the two areas of red so that neither area has an opportunity to dry. If I just had to focus on the left side, for example, the right side would dry with a hard edge if I didn't keep on going back and moving the paint around. Then I'm just going to make this one little tail feather red, and after that's done, I'm going to give everything a chance to dry. Now I'm going to turn to my size 0 brush and do some very fine detail work around the eye. I'm going to make up a very watery mix of black because I don't want the color to be very intense or overpower it all. In fact, I just want it to be a grayish color. Once I've got this grayish color mixed and on my brush, I'm going to make sure the brush is not too heavily loaded so that I can do nice thin detailed lines. And then I will put in the feathered detail around the eyes. I will also use the same color just to put a little bit of texture on the beak as well. Back to my size 4 brush now, and I'm going to mix up some cadmium green light and put that in for the last remaining area on the feathers. And I think you will agree the whole thing finally comes together when we put our last color in on the bird. And there's the final painting. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson, and I will see you in lesson 3.